Welcome to The Blueprint, where we seek out individuals that are built to be the best, giving us tips and tools to excel, taking us to the next level of growth.
So National Quitters Day is labeled by the second Friday following the new year. Last year, I think it was like on the 17th. This year, it falls on the 10th. I'm hoping that means people have had, not as many people have quit because it's been less time they've had to fulfill their resolutions. I know we talked last year. I don't really like to set resolutions. I set goals regularly and reevaluate them. So my resolution's more about what I'm currently working on. Whether you guys adapted that or not, one way or the other, it's all good for you. Whatever works for you to continue to improve your habits, rituals, goal setting, reevaluation is fine by me. But again, the data shows that most people set resolutions, whether they feel pressured into them or they actually do them and mean for them. And most people quit today. So I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about what do you think causes the reason behind why people quit and how to avoid actually quitting them and continuing to press forward. So I'll open it up to you guys. What do you think are common reasons people quit today? Why today?
I don't think today, like January 10th, is long enough. I think in other years it might be, but I don't know. I would think it depends what your resolution is and why on a Friday you'd quit.
I mean, I have a lot of theories behind it, but they're just theories of like why it's the second Friday, no matter how many days away it is. I think it has to do with, oh man, last weekend I had to be on this diet, or I had to go to this gym, or I had to do this and stay disciplined. And this weekend I just want to let my hair, it's the weekend, maybe that's it. I don't know.
I'm wondering if it has to do with, typically the first week of the year, we take vacation, right? We're not working. We're able to, we're home. We're able to stick with our goals, how we want to, and then we get back to work. And then reality sits in. And we try it out for a few days, and we didn't plan properly enough to be successful in the resolutions. So it's just easy for it to just fall to the wayside while we focus on our normal day-to-day things.
I mean, I guess that's kind of what I'm saying as well. It makes a lot of sense, right? Like, I like that part. Reality sets in, right? Reality sets in, and you're like, oh, geez, what did I do, right? Like the inconvenience of it, maybe, or the improper planning, like you mentioned, I think probably has a lot to do with it. Any other theories?
Yeah, or maybe people are just off from, all done with their vacation, and they get to talk to other people who had a different resolution for the year.
You think there's a lot of resolution swapping? Like, oh, geez, maybe I should have picked that one.
I think the expectations, right? To Brittany's statement earlier, when you got other things to do after the holiday, you get more exhausted. So you probably plan for personal involvement or development or resolutions way more than you would be able to, because holiday is like refresh. It's like, okay, what the ideal year would look like, and given the perfect world, what would you want to do? And there's so many things you can think of, and you will try to put on that list. But when everything's said and done, there's much more to it that you probably didn't think, or you were so hopeful and optimistic, like everybody is, for the new year, but it's not really what's possible anyway.
I think too, like I think about some of the, like I'm trying to think about some of the key or the main resolutions people put. I think weight loss is at the top of that list, right? 2 weeks of putting in hard work, and then you get on the scale and maybe even your weight went up because, you put on more muscle or something, right? Maybe you didn't do it right. That could be crushing, right? So maybe you're not getting the results you see. I think, Marlon, what you're also touching on is maybe you put too many things down, or you tried to go too hard at it and then realized that it just wasn't possible, right? I think there's, again, lots of theories. I know last year we published on our Facebook page our podcast for New Year's resolutions and how to properly set those up to aid. So, I mean, anyone can go back for that and reference it. I think it's January 2nd, I believe, is when we posted it. It's a quick 18-minute listen, so anyone can go back and reference that. And it's not just for resolutions, but it's more for goal setting and how to kind of help establish those habits. So I'm not going to dive too much into properly setting up a goal today, but I did want to talk about how to keep it going or how to not quit, right? And that's the important part, is how to not quit. So what are some things you guys would recommend doing to not quit a goal? So aside from it being New Year's or not, just you have a goal, what do you do to not quit?
So I can say, what happens when motivation runs out, right? That's what you're getting at. What happens when motivation comes out? That's when discipline comes in. So if it is something, for me at least, if it's something that I really would like for myself, my life, my family, whatever the case may be, I have to remain disciplined. And, there are days where I don't want to wake up and go to the gym. I don't want to sit at my desk another 3 hours and do schoolwork. I don't have that motivation, but I have the discipline, and I have, I hold high standards so that discipline comes in. And, no, you're gonna get up, you're gonna go to the gym, and you're gonna do this. Like, it's a non-negotiable to myself that I've made. I don't want to, but I do it anyways.
Yeah, and I think there's a few key points we've touched on before about how to kind of stay disciplined. One thing that comes to my mind that I believe you're kind of touching on is really, I guess, not one thing, but two things actually, as I sit and think about it. One is the whys. So by remembering your whys, why am I doing this, right? That could help kind of generate the discipline outside of just basic motivation. So you're kind of going back to what your motivational factor is, would be your why. If you're not motivated to do it and you just made a goal to make a goal, you likely will fail because you don't have a good solid why. So I think one thing to do if you're losing that motivation is to stop. And if you don't have your whys written down, just really stop and think about it, right? Why do I want to accomplish this? What am I actually trying to get out of it? Because the end point is different than the why. Meaning the end point, like you might have a goal to achieve something, but why do you want to achieve that? Whether it be a certain dollar amount in the bank, a certain car in your driveway, a certain position in your company, or a project you're working on, right? I don't just want to build a shed. I want to build a shed for something. What's my why? What am I hoping to get out of it? What enjoyment is it going to bring to me? What life-changing event is it going to help? And then that could help kind of inspire you. The other part of that is the endpoint. And it's kind of associated to the why is, what is my endpoint in this game? And when I mean endpoint, I don't mean the why, and that's why I'm saying it is a little bit different. The endpoint being is I'm going to do this particular item, task, initiative for a period of time. Right? If I have my endpoint in mind, Brittany, it's like you're saying, this is a non-negotiable item for me. I'm going to do this for X amount of time, right? I'm not going to see that I'm not getting results 2 weeks in and quit because my endpoint is actually 90 days because my why is going to take me 90 days to get to my why. So therefore my endpoint is 90 days. That can help kind of push you through some of those lulls. Rita, what about you?
So you might anticipate that you will hit some barriers or have some challenges, in whatever you set as your goal, and maybe have a reset plan. I mean, not plan to fail, but there are going to be different day-to-day obstacles or responsibilities that might come up that you didn't anticipate. So, have your kind of restart plan ready to go too.
Yeah, and I think about that When you say that, Rita, I think about like action plans we have for our teams, right? So if I have a team of people and I go and I look at my root cause, right? We develop an action plan, and then in that action plan we start out. And wouldn't you know, sometimes it just doesn't work because something happens. Like something's in the way, there's another issue, it doesn't quite work out how we wanted it to. So you have to have that backup plan to address. We wouldn't go and spend all the time writing a root cause analysis to figure out what a problem was, to then create an action plan, to then just say, 2 days in, a week in, 2 weeks in, that didn't work. Throw it away. Let's start over. No, we wouldn't. We would never do that. So why would we do it with ourselves, right? So, have that backup plan, like you mentioned, Rita. Be willing to adjust, right? Like it's okay to get it wrong the first time. It's not okay just to throw it away and quit.
And I think I think we need to give ourselves patience and grace, especially with something new. That's my motto: is patience and grace.
Allow yourself to fail. Don't allow yourself to give up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that also has to be accompanied with, like the declaration and being accountable about what you want to happen. Like if you, make it known to the people that you talk to, hey, this is my resolution for the year. And then you start holding yourself accountable that, okay, I declared this is what I'm gonna do, so I have to do it, because if you just keep it to yourself, at any time you could give up, and then because nobody knows, right? So and maybe just finding a group of people that also shares the same goal that would continue keeping you accountable, or maybe follow up on your progress too.
Yeah, I love that. Mm-hmm. And that's what I call peer accountability. I've mentioned that before. Instead of peer as in like untainted, it's peers in terms of a team of my peers, right? I'm going to let you guys know my goal so you can hold me accountable at its purest form. For whatever reason, a lot of us will hold each other accountable, or we're afraid of being held accountable by our peers more than we're afraid of being accountable to ourselves. The first person we fail is ourselves oftentimes. And I don't know why that is sometimes, because humans are often very selfish, except for goal setting. It's kind of weird that way.
I agree. I think one of the other things I want to add too, one of the books that I read last year is Atomic Habits. One of the things that sticks to me there is that you really don't necessarily every single time or every single day come to a decision whether you want to do something or not, because there's just some days that no matter how good your why is, how big it is, it's just not worth it, right? Because of something else that you're doing for that day. So instead of relying on your discipline and accountability, you rely on process or systems. And what that by mean is that you make it a part of your flow, and you make it a part of your item. So like here, we were just talking, Devin, earlier. I'm showing it on the screen. I know it's an audio video, but I've started writing actual piece of paper with cards like this every week. I put down things that I'm going to have to do. And then I carry over any tasks that I don't get to do this week over to the next week. And it's always that process where, okay, I had it down last week and I'm moving it again this week. Why weren't I able to complete it last week? And that should be the top priority this week. And having systems like that or processes that work for you, that you're just going to do it without thinking about it, leaves that opportunity for you to say no to it, and leaves that opportunity to make it like a decision, or make it very motivational item. Instead, make it a part of your process and the things that you do on the day-to-day, so you don't even think about it. You don't even have to remind yourself the whys all the time, because it's always way far off and way more difficult if you think that far ahead. It's good a reminder to put it in the list to begin with, but when you're executing the task, just make it part of your process. Rely on system rather than your personal discipline. I think that helps a whole lot, at least in my case, for last few weeks.
And Marlon and I were talking earlier about it because coincidentally this morning of all days on National Quitter Day is the day that I didn't make it through writing my list. Like I was like, what is the coincidence, right? Like it was just today, just coincidentally, because I had my son this morning, so it threw me off my routine. You know, my routine, I talk about stacking, right? Stacking a habit you're trying to form with something that you normally do in your routine that you enjoy. For me, it's reading my email while writing my list and drinking coffee in the morning. So that's like my morning routine. You'll see a ton of emails sent from my cell phone at that point in time with the nice T-Mobile signature line, because that's what I'm doing. But this morning I had my son, so it just threw me off. But that's the key part I can say is like, look, we're all human, right? The key is like, I'm not going to let today push off my target goal of writing out that list every day. Like I wrote 3 things down, and you know what? I'm still going to write that list before I go to bed tonight. It's going to get done one way or another. It just didn't get done when I wanted it to. But just keeping going and keeping, like, you know, I keep saying keep treading is what I often will tell my sons, just keep treading, just do as much as you can. You'll get started again tomorrow and shoot for it again, but just keeping going keeps you in the act and keeps you accountable, right? It's okay to fail, just adjust. Things will happen, but just don't quit.
Yeah, you know, last year you had us do our calendar acceptances, you know, to set that as a habit. And so Monday morning, that's what I do. And it doesn't happen. I mean, it happens, I'd say 95+% of the time that's my first thing. Like Monday mornings, that's what I do. And I've noticed that if I'm not in on Monday and I come in midweek, it really does throw me off, you know, because I haven't gone through that whole process. So, but like you know, I get it done. It's just, it doesn't feel right because now it is a habit to do it Monday morning. And so when it doesn't get done, I really do notice it.
Yeah. No, it really sounds like you've made that habit a lifestyle now. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. That's awesome. I'm glad we can kind of meet and collectively go through some of these things. You guys have given me a lot of ideas for my own habits and initiatives that I've been able to take. And it's also good to get feedback. So I find it really helpful. You know, I look forward to our kind of future conversations. I know we have a few of them already planned in terms of what we're going to be covering. But yeah, super helpful. Any other key?
That's the most important thing.
We have not quit yet. That's right. That's right. We have far exceeded the expectations, and we have surpassed the mark where I think only 6% I think of it was as resolutions stick. And that's why this wasn't a resolution. It was simply a goal. And we've been able to accomplish that together. So we'll stick with it and keep going. All right. Well, thank you all. I think that will conclude for today. We'll talk again in actually another couple weeks. We have another one planned. So.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Soon. Bye.
For content suggestions, please reach out to The Blueprint at teleperformance.com.